Jewish soul music. Here we go. Last time, everybody. Wonderful. Yababai, yababai, yababai. We're going to do one more warm-up song, and that features not only Mike, but also Mark on the tambour. The Jews enjoyed light and gladness, happiness, and honor. The Jews enjoyed light and gladness, happiness and honor. So may it be for us. King Tiye Lanu. How are we doing on time? And are we streaming? We are. We're on time, we're streaming, and Rabbi Adam Schelt is here. We are under the tent and it's not pouring. Oh no, they probably gave us a Kanahara because it didn't start last week. We were under the tent for Hawaiian Shabbat. 100 some odd strong. Maybe someone said 175, someone said 110. I don't know how many. under the tent here. It poured, I don't know, we're going to be telling this story forever.
Beautiful rainbow.
And then double rainbows. Yeah. And it was tropical and hot and rainy. And so Rabbi Alex is in Chautauqua now, along with, and I was supposed to be there, but I'm going on the Jewish Heritage Cruise for the next 2 weeks, and I didn't want to be gone for 3 weeks. So if the cruise wasn't on, you know, for a while there, we didn't know with COVID and the Ukrainian war, would be there too, perhaps. But Rabbi Alex is there. A number of I have been in communication with some of our congregants that were actually in the auditorium when it happened. So it's another thing to hear about things, it's another thing to imagine things, but they've actually been a first-hand, up-close witness to a terroristic attack and possibly a murder, because it's unconfirmed, but there's rumors going around Chautauqua that he's passed. Salman Rushdie was stabbed in Chautauqua. So we gotta get that out of the way. There's a couple sad things we gotta get out of the way. And this is really our first real, just regular Shabbat without Paul. And we have to acknowledge Paul's, you know, loss too. And now we can move on to Shabbat. There's a lot of stuff happening. I won't be here for the next couple of weeks. I will be on the Jewish Heritage tour. And we'll just all be doing the best we can with everything that's thrown at us. Let's turn to page 128 for Ma Yafeh Hayom, because no matter what the heck is going on, we always have Shabbat that comes around cyclically, and it's a beautiful thing for the Jewish people. Ma Yafeh Hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Ma Yafeh Hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Ma Yafeh Hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Ma Yafeh Hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Oh, I think we'll call up Bruce for a welcome.
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Nice to see everyone tonight. We're continuing on our theme this summer of special services. Special guests, special music, special food, special you name it. Tonight we have a special guest rabbi. So once again, Rabbi Adam's gracious enough to fill in when Rabbi Alex is not here. Looking forward to hearing what you have to say, because you're always insightful and thoughtful. And now I'm putting pressure on you now. Anyway, it's nice, as Cantor said last week. We had quite the flock under the tent last week. We had a huge turnout, and then the rain, and we all just kind of cramped together and did the best we could with it. So tonight will be, I think, a peaceful evening and a warm service on a pleasant summer night. I do want to read something. This is something they've asked me to read just as today, in light of what happened down in Chautauqua, it does seem fitting. Just to take a moment to remind you security precautions. If you see something that doesn't look or seem quite right, like my shirt or something, say something. Be aware of your surroundings. The recommendation of law enforcement is run, hide, fight. If we had an emergency, your goal should be to flee for cover. If we were inside, we would say, be aware of the nearest exit. You're under a tent. There are exits all around you. Just be aware of your surroundings at all times. And if there's an opportunity, if you need to run for cover, you can do so. If you need to get into the building for any reason, if you have to go to the bathroom or what have you, the kitchen door is unlocked. Just touch base with Joanne. And if you have any concerns, any questions at all about security or anything else, I'm here. Joanne is here. Cantor's here after the service. Don't bother her during the service. She's a little busy. But we're all here for you. I'll be back a little later with the abbreviated announcements. Room for jokes. Shabbat shalom.
Shalom Aleichem. Let's see if you can find that on page 142. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharim, Malachei Elyon, Imelech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Okel Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Imelech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Haruni l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Imelech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzidkei l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Imelech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So, can I have a siddur, please? Thank you. Oh, okay. You know what? You'll keep that song. I'm going to borrow this until you need it, okay?
Yep.
Thank you.
It
Need
goes
it
from
soon.
right to left.
Oh.
Always
Almost messed up. All right, let us turn to page 138, back just a couple pages. For the Chadodi, we'll do the first verse and the 9th verse. And then when we get to the 9th verse, you stand up, you face the opening of our Ohel, our tent, to greet the Sabbath bride, the Sabbath queen, and you may bow to her a little bit, like just acknowledge her, and welcome in Shabbat. La 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 Chadodi, la 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 b'nei Shabbat, b'nei Shabbat, megavela, la 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 Chadodi, la 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 26 for the Baruch as we remain standing. Baruch et Adonai, Amen. And we will remain standing if you are able for Ahavat Olam, which is on page 150. A little bit of a delay today with all the shuffling. Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha, Torah u'mitzvot, u'kimu mishpatim, otanu limadeta. Hakeinu Adonai Eloheinu, Shofteinu u'mekumeinu, Nasiha Nukecha. V'nisach b'divrei Toratecha, u'b'mitzvotecha, le'olam va'ed. Ki hem hayenu le'oref yameinu, u'b'hem neged yomam v'layla. V'ahavatcha hatasim benu yorabim, Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael. Page 152. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod, Malchuto, Le'olam Va'ed. Please be seated and turn to page 154 for the Ve'ahavta. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, b'chol levavecha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'otecha, v'hayu advarim ha'elah asher Mom's book.
She doesn't need one.
There you go. Let's try it, everybody. La 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 Let's turn to page for the Let There Be Love, page 161. 161. The English with a little bit of Hebrew in it. Follow Linda and Adam, right? You going to the mic, Adam?
Sure I will.
If you learn the first part, don't have to worry about the second and third part. Just keep singing the first part. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life. say shalom. Adonai sifataytika ufiakim tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips and my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor V'Hamra, Hirayon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, Ekonei Hakol, Zocher Chasdei Avot Me'imahot, U'Me'Bigula Lifnei B'neihem, Lim'an Shema U'Me'ahava, Melech Ozer Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magid Avraham, Be'ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayei Hakol, Atah Rav Le'Hoshia, Marid Atah, Mechakel Chaim V'Chesed, Mechayei Hakol V'Rachamim Rabim, Zomech Noflim V'Rofei Cholim, U'Matzir Asurim, U'Mekayem Emunato, L'Shem Yafa, Michamocha B'Gevurot, U'Midom Elav, Melech Memit, U'Mefayeh, U'Matzliach Yeshua, V'Ne'emanata Chayot V'Chol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayei Hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh v'doshimcha yomaru chesed-na. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. Move now into a silent meditation. I'll know you're finished when I see that you're seated. There's only 2 words in this Oseh Shalom. Vayofiya. Oseh Shalom, make peace, place peace. I sing and you repeat after me. time to look inwards for our healing prayer. The Nishabera, just found on page 371. The list is growing. We want to add Salman Rushdie to this, who was stabbed today at Chautauqua. And as I say, some of our congregants were there to witness it. Rabbi Alex is there now. They're scampering around to try to figure out what to do to serve the community, last I heard. Mishaberach list. Amy Jo, Helen Oblov, Lynn Bass, Ebony Burse, Joe Chimento, Mark Clay, Drew Dembautis, John Durlack, Jason Ehrenberg, Sue Frank, Antonio Franzen, Leslie Garfinkel, Irene Green, Dennis Halpin, Cecilia Henderson, Tracy Kassman, Ellen Caton, Sandra Keene, Rain Klein, Mark Nightinger, Ruth and Diane Lansing, Joe Malucci, Chip Mongion, Jill Shayer Monahan, Colleen Newman, Patricia Newton, Ann Oppenheim, Andrea Proprocki, Ray Post, Karen Rosenfeld, Cheryl Rossi, Brandon Ryan, Lisa Schwartz, Joyce Seitz, Deb Sereno, Peggy and James Stephenson, Lynn Ullman, Emily Tall, Nicholas Warren Tepper, Jean Turansky, Alana Tweedy, Kristen Walker, Anita Wiesel, Mike Wheeler, Jeanette Wood, Avraham ben Rivcha ve'Ephraim, Isser Melech ben Esther, Miriam bat Rezel, Chaya bat Chava, Hanan Ezra ben Shuel, Sarah Gittel bat Chaya ve'Dina. Okay, we would like to add in the names of those who we are thinking of right now. We have in our hearts. Yes, Doug Field,
Myrna Burston,
Kevin Moran,
Barry Harper.
Carol Silverman,
Kathleen Hook and Regina Lapp.
Jerry Key.
we turn to page 371, I believe it was, for the Mishaberach. I now call up, with pleasure, Rabbi Adam Schelt to speak to us today about...
We'll find out.
We'll find out.
I'm often the last to know.
For our viewing audience.
Oh, okay. So I think I arrived before most of you did, and this is the first time I've looked back to actually see how many people were here. That's exciting. So I'm frequently known for how much I like to laugh and how much I like to welcome laughter. Unfortunately, I'm not going to do that with my remarks. I had lots of wonderful things thought up, and then Salman Rushdie was stabbed in the neck and elsewhere on his body today in Chautauqua. As of my drive here, he was in surgery. And all this happened, of course, in one of the most idyllic, perfect little places on Earth, where nothing bad ever really happens. Occasionally a child's bicycle may go missing. It usually shows up a couple hours later because someone just needed to borrow it. In fact, I once misplaced my wallet on a picnic table, came back an hour later, and it was still there. Everything completely intact. Of course, given some of the finances of some of the Chautauquans, they probably weren't interested in what was in my wallet anyway. However, all of that idealism and all that lovely Chautauqua-ishness really got torn apart today. This week, our Torah portion, Bet Hanan, we read the Ten Commandments. This is a big Torah portion. Rabbis wait all year for this one. It's just low-hanging fruit everywhere in this Torah portion. The Christian Ten Commandments instruct us not to kill. Our Ten Commandments instruct us not to murder. And while, at least to my knowledge, as of whenever I last heard Mr. Rushdie is still alive, neither set of these Ten Commandments were clearly taken into consideration today. In my work, I'm the director of spiritual care at hospice, but in my work, I come across a lot of different faith traditions. Some y'all probably never even heard of. Not a single one of them, not one, instill a value of murder and slaughter in their congregations, in their adherents, in the people that worship through these faith traditions. Not a one. The mainstream teaching of literally every single faith tradition does very much the opposite. Faith traditions make rules and cultivate values around what they think, by and large, will create harmony and peace. That is, in fact, what our Ten Commandments try to do. Situated as they were thousands of years ago, they lay out 10 basic tenets, 10 basic steps to help ensure greater peace and harmony. Were those 10 statements written today, would we choose the exact same 10? Probably not. I would honestly like to see something about setting your phone down in those 10 things. Some might be the same, others less so. I think we'd all certainly agree that murder, even attempted, is unacceptable. But today's news got me thinking. What are your 10 commandments? What are my 10 commandments? Because clearly there's a difference between what an individual does and what the group is taught. Of course, we have the 10 that are often inscribed on or in our synagogues. But what are the top 10 that you actually live by? Have you ever stopped to consciously think about it? The 10 Commandments, they're words, they're often pretty when we see them in religious spaces. We read them, we crack jokes about them, usually about the one about your honoring your mother and your father, and then we all move on, right? What do you actually do, though? Have you ever stopped to consciously think about it? They're there, all sorts of rules and guidelines that you live by on a daily basis. You probably don't even realize it. So, take a second, right now, and think, a little mental exercise. Think in this moment, what rules of living do you live by? They may be a little bit more like values you adhere to, but take a moment and think about it. You don't have to come up with 10. I'm certainly putting us all on the spot here, but give it a try. Now, notice what's going through your head as you think about these things. Does it feel like a little bit of a scramble? Do you notice any little bubbling of anxiety, big or small? Maybe a sense of wonder or curiosity. Maybe you just started listing all of the things and values and rules that you live by because it was just that easy. If you were able to come up with a few things, if a few clear things came to your mind, do you actually do those things? If you took that list of your own commandments, nascent as it is, no matter how many you thought of just now, if you took that list and then you took an accounting of your life, within Jewish tradition it's called a cheshbon nefesh, but if you took a look at all the things that you've done in your life, how do all those choices match up with the rules and the values that just came into your head and that you just thought about? Are there discrepancies? Are there areas in which you missed the mark? Now, I don't want this to come off like a high holiday sermon. I know that I'm like, everything I just said is dancing dangerously on the line of Yom Kippurish kind of stuff. But when tragedy strikes, when something happens that incites, brings up all of the ugly of humanity, of which there's a lot, but fear, anger, resentment, we always ask, how can something like this happen? And then more often than not, the answer is something I think is utterly ridiculous. Like, there wasn't enough security. Someone should have been armed to offer protection. People shouldn't be allowed in unless they're searched. We aren't prosecuting enough. That stuff isn't actually the answer. The real reason that horrible things happen is because things don't add up. There is a disconnect between values and choices. For some reason, in some way, big or small, a gulf opens up between what we know deep down to be right and what we choose to do. On a macro level, we have things like the 10 Commandments to teach and cultivate us as a group. But that only works if you plug into it. On a micro level, we have 1,000 different moments available in our day to each and every one of us to take literally just a couple seconds to think about what we value most and then stick to it. We all have all sorts of little pockets of time in which we could, if we so choose, reflect, consider, then move forward. Sometimes this leads to things such as not tipping as much as we probably should, cutting somebody off in traffic because I need to get where I'm going. We've all done that. Like to say we've all witnessed that happening, but let's be honest, we've all done it. Others have witnessed us doing it. Or it could be so deeply entrenched that it starts to warp who a human being is, who their children are, who their grandchildren are, and that leads to something horrible, like crime, like violence, like murder. But at the end of the day, we should not complain about a broken world unless we're actively trying to repair it. Could any of us have prevented what happened in Chautauqua today? No. Could any of us go out into the world and help others align their lives, their choices, and their values? Maybe. That's actually a possibility. We could do that. Could any of us leave here tonight and take some real time to examine our lives and realign our choices so that we can live justly and do what is truly right? Yes. 100% yes. Every single one of us can do that. And I think that's one of the best things that the Torah teaches. It teaches that it starts with you. Whether your name is Nachshon, you're the first one in the Red Sea before it parts, or you're a teacher, leader like Moses, the first to write down the very words of God that form the Ten Commandments. The greatest changes in life start with the power of one person. And you are one person. As such, you have immense power, in this case, to heal the world. And so on this Shabbat, I urge us all to take a moment, discover, and cultivate ways to bring ourselves into better alignment and work to bring greater harmony and peace into the world. I wish us all a truly Shabbat Shalom. And as ever, thank you all so much for inviting me under your tent. It's always a joy to be with you anytime I'm invited. So much gratitude. And now I'm going to take this back.
Let's rise and turn to page 586. Aleinu l'shabach l'Adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם אלוקינו בהם, וגור עלינו בכל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. Page 591. Please be seated. If you'd like to turn to page 598, hold your finger in place. We're going to move ahead to the mourner's Kaddish after we read our lists, our sad, sad lists. We're observing Shiva for George Bukowski, father of Jim, Lynn Bukowski, grandfather of Adam Bukowski, Helen Mesh, and Irving Slater. We're observing Shaloshim for Esther Amiel, aunt of Tracy Zappia and Eric Betsy Zappia, Warren Beckman, cousin of Larry and Toby Horwitz, Harold Brody, husband of Freda Brody, Norma Jean Harris, cousin of Nathan Lynn Bass Zipperman, Ellen Kaufman Bernstein, aunt of Toby and Larry Horowitz, Solomon Matlin, Donnie Perlman, great uncle of Rabbi Alex and Shira Lazarus Klein, Paul Staley, beloved organist at Shir Shalom, Ida German Steinberg, mother of Rick Beth Steinberg, and and Jean Winkelstein. We're observing Yortzeit for Minnie Becker, Ida Bilski, Lillian Brody, Benjamin Bush, Frey Dubrowen, Esther Engel, Estelle Edelson, Irving Faden, Max Philip Finkelstein, Louis Glickman, Marcel Gutman, Stephen Ira Haber, Mildred Gordon Hannaford, Jed Halbenstock, Robert Horowitz, Louis Meyer, Eisenberg, Abraham Kaiser, George Kerman, Aaron Lipman, Michael Organic, Simon Perel, Lorraine Pleskow, David Paul, Gerald Rosen, Paula Rosner, Edward Schulafond, Louis Schwartz, William Siegel, Leanne Silverberg, Bernard Silverman, Patricia M. Snyder, David L. Stein, Grace P. Stern, Chester Stricker, Moses Teplesky, Morton Wakehoff, Jacob Weiner, Boris Weisbrot, and Julian M. Yude. So, you are thinking of someone this evening, or someone wasn't included in the Yortzeit list, if you'd like to pronounce their name.
Carol Marcus.
Please rise. Turn to page 598. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rama v'yama v'yirav hirutei v'yamlik malchutei v'chayecho v'yomecho v'chayei t'chol beit Yisrael v'agala v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabba mevarach le'olam u'lamei almaya. Yitkarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. Yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei kudusha v'richu. Le'ela mikol berchata v'shirata. Tush b'chata v'nechemata. Dam yiram v'yalma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama Rabba v'yishemaya. V'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom v'imromav. Hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru amen. Please be seated. It's a great pomp and circumstance. We now have Bruce come to the microphone, who's being timed continuously to make sure that his announcements
The
tonight
abbreviated announcements. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. We want to thank our service greeters this evening, Gail and occasionally Larry Kermit. We want to thank Adam Bider for our sound setup tonight, Kyle Burke for the tent setup. Special thank you, of course, to Cantor Frank and guest Rabbi Adam Schelt for a meaningful service tonight in honor of Shabbat. You did not let me down. Fate threw you a curveball today, and because I have a feeling I know what you were originally planning to talk about, and it involved laughter. I'm just guessing. I'm just guessing it involved laughter, but you adapted well, and that was a very, very interesting and thought-provoking talk tonight. So thank you for that. We do want, of course, wish Rabbi Alex a Shabbat Shalom. He was leading service tonight at Chautauqua Institute. What a weekend for him to be there. Tomorrow morning we will have virtual offerings, Torah study at 9, Shabbat morning service, and the virtual Kiddush luncheon on Zoom. Please see the website for the links. Speaking of food, we have Shabbatas coming up on Tuesday. If you have not already made your order on the website, please do so. You're assured of getting it that way, and you save $1. Thank you to everyone who supports our Shabbatas, whether that's lining up to buy your chicken or by volunteering. That's a very important thing for us. We have been doing some adapting on the announcements. As you know, Joanne always used to say, if it's happening in the next 6 months, it should be in the announcements. We've gotten her to rein in a little bit, and we're putting there you threw yours away. Susan just threw her. It's the blue piece of paper that's in your service leaflet. contains other things that are coming up. Take it home with you, put it on your refrigerator, study it. There will be quizzes. Anyway, we just try to cut out a lot of what is in the announcements. And of course, more time for jokes. I mean, like that. There's a book on a table out there. The Cantor put a lot of effort into putting together a really fun Spiel picture book. It is a picture book containing pictures from Spiel's past, including this year's 10th anniversary one. It is a hoot and a half. You should see the pictures in there. Stop and take a look on your way out. If you need anything at all, please feel free to talk to the Cantor, the rabbi, even though he's away. Todd, Joanne, or myself, we are always here for you. As you leave this evening, don't forget to help yourself to an onig to go. If you would like to sponsor an onig for any occasion or no occasion at all, please talk to Joanne. And of course, we want to wish bon voyage and safe travels to our members who are leaving this coming week for the cruise. Show of hands, who's going? Wow, quite a few of you. Cantor earlier mentioned that she was going on it as well. Safe travels, and have a wonderful and memorable trip. And if you go someplace that sells wine, I drink red. So you know. Shabbat Shalom again. Thank you as always for being part of our wonderful Shir Shalom family.
Thank you. So, I don't know, I was feeling in a creative and a fun mood this morning, and I said, let's do, I don't know if you remember, during the pandemic, when we were on Zoom, we did This Land Is Your Land in Yiddish. Remember that? And we all had some fun with it, so I figured, hey, let's do it tonight. So let's just go over the Yiddish chorus, so everybody can sing a little bit of Yiddish tonight. What?
I'm the Yiddish chorus.
You're the Yiddish And so, so why don't you just repeat after me? Das Land is dein Land. Das Land is dein Land. Das Land is mein Land. Das Land is mein Land. Von California. Von California. Bis Ellis Island. Bis Ellis Island. Von die Größe Osres. Von die Größe Osres. Bis die Breite Yamen. Bis die Breite Yamen. Das ist ein Land für mir und dir. Das ist ein Land für mir und dir. So, very interesting because it's for mir, me, and you instead of you and me. And it was, I joined in some type of Zoom when everybody was on Zoom, and this thing was prepared by a whole committee. This thing was written, the Yiddish translation, this official Yiddish translation was written by a committee over like a few years of discussing exactly how they wanted to finesse this. And they wanted to really make sure that people understood that the immigrant experience is very, very personal. So, for mir und dir, right? For me and you, because if you, this is not your home, it's very hard to be like, you know, very, very forthcoming and very generous with your homeland when it's not quite your homeland yet, or maybe you just became your homeland. So it's for me, I want to be part of, you know, the American experience. And then of course, instead of the New York Island, we have Ellis Island, right? So there's some really, and instead of this land is your land, this mine is my land, from California to the New York Island. Okay, so in other words, it's in the first verse when we talk about Egypt, all right? From desert and Egypt and to a new land, Yerushalayim. All right, so I did not put the Yiddish verses on this sheet, but I gave you translations of it. But please join me in Yiddish on the Yiddish chorus. I have to find them. Das ist ein Land von mir und dir. Everyone. Das Land ist dein Land, das Land ist mein Land. From California, this is Island. From the coast's oceans is the greater Yamen. Das ist ein Land von mir und dir. Geh ich mir wohnen, diesen von heute, nur wir sind hinten, sehr bloßen Stamm, der wird Romanin, herrliche Sangen. Everyone, das ist ein Land von mir und dir. Everyone, das Land ist dein Land, das Land ist mein Land. From California, bis Ellis Island, from the prices roses, is the greater Yamen. Das ist ein Land von mir und dir. Let's go to the fifth one. Es kann schon gehen, uns nicht verstehen, die freie Wegen, uns nicht verwenden, die Tage zusammen, wenn uns zusammen. Das ist ein Land von mir und dir. Everyone, das Land ist dein Land, das Land ist mein Land. From California, bis Ellis Island, von the Gooses Oceans, ist die greater Yamen. Das ist ein Land von mir und dir. English from heart. This land is your land, this land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters, this land was made for you and me. Thank you. You recognize some of those words in there? Some of the Yiddish words? Which ones? Just 1 second. Just yell out some words that popped out at you. The Yiddish words. Can't hear you.
Mein Land.
Grayson? What else? Yamen? Uh-huh.
Mein Land.
Mein Land.
Dein Land.
Dein Land.
Was Fagel in there? Fogel?
Fagel, right. The Fagel singing.
Yeah.
The birds were singing. Anything else? Yes.
California.
California. Ellis Island. Well, everyone, we're going to do a motzi. I did not forget the motzi. I want to wish everybody Shabbat Shalom. And thank you. Rabbi Adam, Shel, thank you. Mark Nightinger, thank you. Mike Frank, thank you. Rabbi, why don't you do the motzi? We never do the wine and the candles. We gotta do them. Quick. Elijah did.
Do I take this out of the bag?
You know what? Let's go to page 120. Elohim
Did you find out more about my job? Yeah, good to see you. I can probably do December. Yeah, probably gonna have to.
Thursday.
If it's the second week, I think I can make it, but if it's the sixth, I don't think I can. Let me ask her a week later.
Yeah. I think so. I mean, it would be lovely if we could get back to it. It's about the time of day. 2 days from now. We're putting a pupa out in the
Yeah.